We are activating your unique self-discovery one show at a time. The Orchard of Wisdom Self-Discovery podcast are at your fingertips, just waiting to inspire and invite you in discovering just how awesome you really are and how to navigate through life in joy, enrichment, personal abundance, in mind, body, spirit, heart, and soul. All the people we bring you are here to serve you on your journey of life. Do enjoy our next show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Your Health is Your Choice, right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest is Susan Kewin. We're going to be talking about that big word, menopause, and how it can have mental illness issues around it, and how it is just so brushed over by society as, it's just menopause, who cares? Well, it really, if you're going through it, you care because it can have quite some really kind of tumultuous, I would say, effects on one's life. Menopause is that time in itself is a mental wealth issue. When you add the physical struggles, such as lack of sleep, brain fog, weight loss, or weight gain, it is time to seriously take a look at the research and the solutions. As she says, adding in the trauma of loss of a real mental wellness issue, the society as a whole is not equipped to deal with. Women need the resources and the emotional support to navigate this chapter in their lives and make it a wonderful time of self-discovery. And she says, as women, we experience various life stages from puberty through to womanhood. Our bodies develop and evolve. We become mothers, focus on our careers, or juggle both. And with age, hormonal fluctuations occur during this menopause, which causes menstrual changes such as shorter, longer, or regular cycles. Likewise, 12 consecutive months without a period marks menopause. Hormonal profiles plus the psychology of the younger and maturing woman differ. We want women to transition comfortably and symptom-free as possible at any stage of the menopause. And she said she is 64 years young. She's had four living children and four wonderful grandchildren. For the past 10 years, she and her husband have been very active in serving the homeless community in her city. Giving back has always been her passion for her. She was taught growing up to leave wherever she was a better place than where she found it. And she found that to leave this world a better place sorry, I'm repeating myself, better than finding it again. That includes helping women with their midlife experience better than they are living it. And she's got this wonderful Facebook group called Zombie X Group, which I love. But we're going to be talking about menopause. And, I invite people to go back and look at her show page. All you have to do is put in her name on selfdiscoverymedia.com. And I'm going to spell that for you, Susan, Susan, Kewin, K. Sorry, get your act together. Kewan, and you'll see her show page, but you'll also see there is a wonderful a menopause rhapsody. It's the Bohemian Rhapsody for menopause. It is truly hilarious because, folks, if we can't laugh at life, no matter what it throws at us, we're in trouble. Welcome to the show, Susan.
Hey, glad to be here. Very glad to be here.
Great. Menopause. And I went through it 18 years ago, and I was lucky. I had friends that went through the sweats that they were drenched at the table. And the hot flushes. I've always had a certain amount of hot flushes throughout my life, and always had a very bad menstrual cycle until my firstborn. Then it was easy, and the secondborn, it went back to being bad again. And then, when I went through the actual menstrual cycle, it wasn't nearly as bad as some of the people around me experienced. And I'm grateful for that. Thank you. But it is not fun. It is, it is sometimes can be quite embarrassing. It's very frustrating. And for some people it can be short, and for some people it can be over a long period. And one just doesn't know, do we?
Nope, it's different as each woman is. That's as different as their situation is going to be, what they're going through in menopause. It's pretty much tailor-made for the individual. you know, so everyone is totally different. I am much like you. I had awful periods. I mean, horrendous until I
Hmm.
had my first child.
Hmm.
And then it was by the third, it was back to kind of being what it was before.
Yes.
And I had a little bit to deal with the hot flashes, but not much, not what most women have. You know, we lived up north, and during the winter, I would just step outside and cool
Yes.
myself off.
Yes. What are you doing in -10?
Yes,
Just cooling off.
yeah, that's what my husband would say. Where are you going? It's 15 degrees outside. Cooling off.
Yes.
And
Uh,
and the
it,
restless legs. That was something
oh,
that,
yeah.
oh my gosh, that's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Yes, I
And
still have that, unfortunately, but that's to do with another condition I have. And yes, no, it's not fun. Your legs just want to take off, and
oh
you
yeah.
know, and they have a life of their own. So no, not fun. And yeah, the hot flushes aren't fun either because whether you sweat or not, or just get really, really hot, it is
Mhm.
uncomfortable. One
It
moment your
is.
temperature is fine, and the next moment, oh, I can't breathe. I'm so hot. And
I
but,
know.
but
I
you know, I'm
know.
I'm wearing a woolly sweater. What are you talking about?
Yeah, people don't really tend to understand. I remember my mom watching Love Boat with my mom, right? And she had on her pink fuzzy um pajamas and all of a sudden her bathrobe, and all of a sudden she would just go woof, and he'd get smacked in the face because she was like, poor woman. And back then they didn't have the different hormonal therapies or whatever. You just had to deal with it,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
So
Yes. And
yeah.
I mean, it's the estrogen kind of imbalance, and I know that there are various things that you can take to kind of, because it's really about balance, isn't it? Your hormones are
Yeah.
just yo-yoing
Hmm.
away like crazy, and
Yeah.
producing too much of this and not enough of that. And it's like it's just kind of calming them down, which is really, really important,
Hmm.
to get that equilibrium back in our body. But and you know, there's a lot of natural remedies and things like that. But it's
Yeah.
really, um, I feel today as women that we have to do our research and form those conversations with other women and what they've done. So when we go see our doctor, we can educate them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because most doctors, I mean, I feel like I had a pretty good doctor, but when I was going through all my um, sleeping issues and going to see the doctor, and they just prescribed me a sedative. And this was a woman doctor, and it's just okay, write you out a sedative. And that is not the direction. There were no questions about what's going on in your life.
Right.
What's your menopause like? Where are you in all that? It was just, oh, you're having trouble sleeping? Here's a prescription, which didn't really work for me. And later on, I found out from a naturopathic doctor that sedatives don't allow you to go into a deep, restful sleep
Mm-hmm.
that you need. Because I would sleep technically. I'd have my 7 hours, but when I woke up in the morning, I was still exhausted,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't understand why. And when I finally asked my doctor, that's more on the naturopathic side, he said, "Well, that's why."
Mm-hmm.
So I was so blessed to finally, get some relief from that. But yeah, if you can do natural, by all means, do your research, see what works for you. You just have to be much more patient. We're in such a,
Yeah.
grab it to go society that, the thought of doing something naturally and having it to take maybe a few months, several
Mm.
months before you really feel the difference. We're so tempted to just take a pill and it's going to solve your problem, not realizing that that pill might cause other problems. And
Yes.
you know medicine is great when it's necessary, but if it can be avoided
Mm-hmm.
by just, you know diet, exercise, just, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into some of those things, but even just our thought processes
Mm.
have an effect on those hormones you were talking about, which then has an effect on the rest of our body. So there's a lot we can do that, to kind of counteract what we're going through.
Yeah, most certainly. You know, and you know, as you wrote, at the beginning there about the mental strain, yes, this is going on in our body, but it does have a mental strain. because we
Mhm.
don't know what's going on. We can't get a handle on it, or it breaking out in sweats, or the hot flashes, or just everything else that can happen along with it. And not every woman goes through the big sweats, and most women go through the hot flashes. But
Yeah.
there's other things that you go through that can happen at the most inopportune times, and
Hmm.
then you're faced with the embarrassment. And the thing is to make light of it, make fun of it. It's just menopause, folks. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Men, I believe you get it too, and put fear in them, because they do go through some sort of change. I'm not quite sure what, nothing like we do, obviously, but
Well, they
you
go
know,
out and buy a Ferrari. That's what
yeah,
they do.
yes,
We
yes.
don't get to do that.
No, the midlife crisis, the blonde in the Ferrari. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
no, we don't get to do that. Why not? But
I,
anyway, um, the thing is, I think if we can take the embarrassment away with it, and instead put the support, for whether you understand, whether you're a woman, a young woman, or a man, just be supportive of what the woman's going through. Oh God, I'm so sorry, folks. What can I do about that? Would you like a nice hose? You know,
yeah,
Make
right.
light of it, because if you can take away the sense of embarrassment, or the sense of I'm out of control with my body, and help somebody kind of laugh about it, or have some empathy about it, you're already
Mhm.
decreasing the stress level. We don't want women who are going through menopause to be stressed, do we?
No, we just add that to it. And I would add to that just having that conversation with your family.
Mm.
Of course, you want your husband to understand what's going on, but your children, I mean, by
Yeah.
this point in life, your children are probably teenagers or older, but still, what is their response going to be? Maybe you're a little more irritable than
Mm.
normal, right? You're more tired, you're less sociable, whatever. And being able to get your children to understand, this is what I'm going through, you know, and I'm not being grouchy, I'm not being mean, I'm not being unsociable. I'm going through menopause,
Yes.
So, and I need your support.
Yeah,
And
it's not like
yeah,
menopause here today and gone tomorrow. The word
uh-uh.
through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
However long or short it is, you have to go through it. And um, there is no, well, I'm going to do it in a month. No, your body is going to decide what it's going to
Yeah.
do. However, you can help it with the night
Absolutely.
nutrition, mindset,
Mm-hmm.
exercise, and also support around you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's so important. And if you don't get it from your doctor, then find one that does understand, what you're going through. And it's not just I found out the other day that the word hysterectomy comes from the word hysterical
Oh,
because women are hysterical. And that's how you cure it, by giving them a hysterectomy.
uh,
So, I mean, this goes back
yes.
generations,
Yeah.
that we have
The
to
women's
kind of,
hysteria have locked them up in an institute too, right? Yes. Yeah.
absolutely, they're just crazy,
Mm.
And yeah, I know, like when my mom was having her children, and after they're going through menopause, it was just, here, here's some pills for you. In
Mhm.
fact, my husband was telling me about a little blurb from a Mary Tyler Moore show. And she was going ballistic. She was all upset because his in-laws were coming, his parents were coming, and she was all upset, nervous. She's in those years of menopause. And so her girlfriend takes her aside and says, here, I have some pills to calm you down. That was, that's the way we did it.
Right.
And unfortunately, like we talked about before the show, in the United States, in North America, that's pretty much the way we're still doing
Yeah.
it. I'm so glad to hear that, like the UK, at least the UK, bravo for them. They're really getting women to understand. They've got actual movements going on, education. It's phenomenal, and hopefully it'll cross the pond
Yeah.
and be here.
I've done a few shows on menopause, and also, on menstrual cycle, because,
Mhm.
it isn't a pleasant thing, and it happens to all women. This is
Yeah.
part of what we go through. Um, and it is the various techniques that we can use. And again, it's not every technique is going to suit every person.
Yeah.
So what works for one may not work for the other. But, just as this network is called self-discovery, we've got to discover for ourselves what works for us, which means we do have things like podcasts today. We do
Yeah.
have so much information on the internet. Yes, be careful what you look at.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many support groups on Facebook or this or that, etc., where you
Yeah,
can talk to people about it. And it's like, this show is called Your Health is Your Choice. Now, you can't help going through menopause, but it is your choice how you go through it, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. And making those decisions make a big difference in how you do go through it.
Yeah.
I love the term biohacking because the broad definition of biohacking is just giving your body what it needs, finding out for yourself what does your body need physically, emotionally, spiritually, and going through that process of finding your hacks for what works, whether it's you're still menstruating or menopause or whatever it is. It is our bodies are so individual that
Mm,
we really do need to go through the process of finding out what works for us rather than just, grabbing a prescription and doing that, doing it that way. It makes it makes a big difference in your life. Just, I know it's kind of an experiment. You try this for a
yeah.
while,
Yeah.
but you're worth it as a woman, and your family is worth it. Your health is worth it. So going through that process is definitely well worthwhile.
And again, whatever the length of the time is, you will get through it. There is life on the other side,
Yeah.
and that's the important thing to know. I was one of those people that whenever I had a menstrual cycle, and I started, I think, at 12, which
Mm-hmm.
was considered quite young back then. And I remember literally being doubled up. And I remember one time in my school uniform, I was brought up in the UK, fainting between two cars, that were parked and
Mm.
and people I heard as I'm coming around, what drugs is she on? And this is
Yeah.
back in the 60s, for Christ's sake,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like, I am doubled up in pain here, and I really would miss school and have, a lot of problems with it until the first one. Second one, and then after that, my periods were much, much better. And the second one went back to being a little worse, but not as bad. And then
Mm-hmm.
with the third one, was not quite so bad as it used to be, but not as great as it was after the first one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, it's like you can't say, but mum went through this, so I'm going to go through this, or I went through this menstrual cycle, so I'm going to go through that. You just don't know what you're going to be dealt out. But your whole persona of being calm, and
Mm-hmm.
not getting hysterical about it because it's
Yeah.
here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to apologize about, first and foremost.
Yeah.
And the calmer you are in approaching it, the easier it is going to be to get you through it.
Yeah. And it's not just that there's, life at the end of it, there's life during the whole process,
Exactly,
you
exactly.
know?
Yes.
And that's something that women have got to realize too, that, hey, this is not the end of the world. This is not, waiting until it's all over before you can have your life back. There are things you can do to really, make midlife a good time of your life, a good chapter in your life.
Just means a different wardrobe, lighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to be wearing
Yeah,
summer
right.
clothes during winter.
Absolutely.
And
Making those
like
adjustments.
men's midlife crisis, Jenny, can be a divorce and taking up with a younger woman and buying that Maserati you talked about,
Yeah.
and they go through different extremes. And I think their repercussions of the midlife can be a lot longer lasting than
Yeah,
ours,
that's
right?
true.
So,
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
and I think again, the support group, is so important because when you're around other people that are going through it, they're going to share. A woman is like this. We're going to share. This works for me.
Absolutely.
Or I found if I do that, or if I do this, and then you're going to try it on because it's
Mhm.
working for someone else until you find that's something that works for you. Then you're going to be an advocate for what works for you with other people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely that's part of my story.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what kind of suggestions do you have? Somebody's you've got menopause. um, what would you suggest that people first and foremost do in that first, this is what you've got?
Look, like we had talked about, look into their healthy, their lifestyle. Is my lifestyle something that is going to help me get through this, or is it going to make it more difficult? Exercise, diet, and then there's the things that just, we talked about hormone levels. Well, I have a neighbor dog down the road, and started, before I was able to sleep and go out and take a walk, since then I've been greeting this dog, and talk about a dose of oxytocin.
Mhm.
She just loves on me, and so there are things you can do. I know you mentioned in the beginning that me and my husband have, we've been working with the homeless. That
Mhm.
that has been proven scientifically to that giving back, getting involved in some kind of community outreach absolutely helps in so many ways with mental wellness.
Yes.
There's even some talk about the longevity of your life, because it does give you those good
Hmm.
hormonal secretions, the good brain stuff you need that is affecting the rest of your body. So, I would say educating, and having a mental mindset that this is okay. It is something that every woman goes through,
Hmm.
and it can be gone through with grace. And um, you know, there's are positive things about it, as far as that this is a time in your life when you are a little freer to think about what you want to do with the rest of
Yes.
your life. I'm 64, and I'm like, okay, what do I want to be when I grow up? The kids are gone.
Yes.
I have, we recently retired, and I'm like, it's actually an interesting time. And you've got all that wisdom behind you. You've
Yeah.
got a lifetime of skills and things we learn, maybe a lifetime of things that, yes, regrets that we wish we could do it all over again. That can raise my hand there. But in terms of that, we've got a lifetime of experience and wisdom that you could be there for other people, and you could help other people be that thing that makes the world a little bit better, you
Yes.
know? So um, it's all of those aspects put together, just making sure you get your exercise, you're eating well, you get your sleep. That is so majorly important. And you
Mm.
learn how to deal with stress.
Yeah.
However, whatever you need to do for you to deal with stress, it might just be sitting and taking some deep breaths, going outside, taking a walk, um, drinking more water,
Mm.
um, or even to getting professional counseling. That's fine. If that's what you need to help you to deal with the stress, then that's a direction that you need to go.
Mm. You talked about in your forward bit about losing weight, and it is actually more common for people to gain weight.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and again, that is you could be doing the same exercise as you did, prior, and
Yeah.
here the weight is gaining, and that's part of the estrogen and everything else being out of whack. And it's like, please be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
That is number one. This is something that's going on. My daughter is pregnant with her second one right now, and of course she's going through the whole vomiting and nausea and
Mhm.
fatigue and everything else. And we've got to look at, her little womb is manufacturing a baby,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's going to take
Mhm.
everything from mom. As my
Yeah.
doctors used to say to me, you're allergic to pregnancies. Your baby sucked the life out of you.
Ah,
Because I really, I'm one of these people had terrible pregnancies as well. And we've got to understand that that's what's happening when we're creating babies. But when our factory, quote to speak, is closing down, there's a
mhm.
lot of compartments of it that need to calm down and settle down and realize they're not needed anymore. And part of it is
Yeah.
the estrogen in our body. We've got
Mhm.
so much of that in our body that needs to kind of diminish and calm down. And we've also got to intake a lot more calcium in our body. which is really, really important. And magnesium, vitamin
Yeah.
D with magnesium, they work together
Mhm.
very well together. There's so many nutrients that we can take that it's really important that we do talk to a naturopath or somebody that is more on the holistic side of things,
Yeah, that
because
can walk you through that.
they're about balancing us, aren't they? They're about, let's
Yes.
bring this down, let's even that out, let's, make sure that things aren't going to extreme. The hysterical is our
Hmm.
bodies in hysterics,
Yes, it's true.
and we
It's
want to
true.
calm the body down. And yes, we can go for various types of meditation. Even watching something funny can
Yeah,
help a great deal, right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
But we do need
Absolutely.
those nutritionals, those right nutritionals in our body to help the
Mhm.
body calm down, because the
Yeah.
mind will certainly help it, but we really need to put those things in the body that go, okay, come on, let's bring it down a little bit, let's find a balance. Um, and we've got to be
Yeah.
willing to, as you said, step away from the pharmaceutical,
Yeah.
and think that the doctors have it all. They don't. They're wonderful, they're
Hmm.
life-saving, but let's understand they've been trained to work in a crisis. They've not been trained in prevention or
No.
dealing with things that are au natural.
Yeah. And when you have a 15-minute appointment, and
Right.
that's all that, what do they, find a good naturopathic doctor, because what they, not only will they sit down and talk to you, and they
Yes.
might talk to you for 45 minutes, whatever it, and really ask those questions that are important, but they'll also test. And that's really important, because what
Yeah.
are you, when they test your blood, your urine, I know my personally, when I got tested, I found out that my cortisol level was shooting up at night. I didn't know that,
Hmm.
and so that is why I was awake at night all night long, because my cortisol level was shooting up. So when I found a product that had a wonderful thing called ashwagandha in it, which that brought down my cortisol levels, but I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't gone to a good doctor that was able to do all that testing and talk to me about what I was going through.
Yes.
Not just you're not sleeping, but how are you not sleeping?
Yeah.
What is going on that you're not sleeping? Those deep questions that that's the kind of doctor that you need to find to help you work through all that and get the testing done. And then again, it's a period of experimenting.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
yeah.
But it's also to know what to expect. I'm just going to talk about a few of the things that you're going to get: mood swings, hot flushes, irregular
Mhm.
periods, changes in your sleep patterns, loss of breastfulness. This is where the old sag and tits start coming into play. Uh, Weight gain, dry skin, vaginal dryness, thinning hair. And this is just some of the facts that are there. And this is uh, causes and risk factors. This is something very important to understand. This is why people need to understand that menopause is something you need to get through, but also something you need to be aware of,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
cardiovascular disease can happen through their stroke, osteoporosis, urinary inconsistency, cancer, diabetes, and thyroid issues. And
Yeah.
that they talk about hormone therapy, vaginal estrogen, antidepressants, and osteoporosis meditation. All of those that I've just mentioned can all be supported naturally. You
Yes.
don't need to go through the meditation. And each country has its own, obviously, different terminologies for the natural products. But again, go to your network of people that you know. You know somebody older than you that's gone through menopause. Who
Mhm.
did they go to? What did they do? The beautiful thing about the picket fence is that we shared things with one another,
Yeah.
right? And we need to
Hmm.
get back to doing that. This is nothing to be embarrassed about or ashamed about. This is something that every woman is going to face, unless she has had a hysterectomy, then for a different reason. But
Yeah.
let's be supportive and start talking to one another about who helped, where did they help, what did you do? And also, I think first and foremost, to be aware that it's not just about the hot flushes and everything else, but other things can happen if you don't pay attention.
Hmm. Yeah. I saw a really funny meme today on Facebook, and it was a bunch of ladies. One lady had the window open, and you could tell it was like that back in the 50s. She's hanging out her window, she's talking to her neighbors, and the um the theme of it was we need to get back to the original windows
Yeah.
of talking to each other. And
Yeah.
that goes right in line with what you're saying. And now having social media though,
Yes.
we have so much access
Mm.
to putting it out there and saying, hey, this is what I'm going through. I'm in 3 different groups for women over 50, and it's a constant theme.
Mm.
Hey, this is what I'm going through. What are you doing about it? Is this normal? And it is such a blessing to just have someone get back to you and say, it's normal. I'm
Yes.
going through it myself, that you don't think you're going crazy or whatever, that for someone to empathize with you, sympathize with you, and be able to give you some direction because they've gone through it is that's something that is so available to us now that
Yes.
our
It's
moms
our
didn't
window.
have.
It's our
Yeah,
window.
it's our
Well, it's our
window.
picket
Exactly.
fence. It
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
And you're talking to
Exactly.
people from all over the world where certain cultures kind of manage this type of thing better than us. All
Yeah.
right, because of the nutritional herbs that they've traditionally had. Because,
Yes.
let's look at North America, UK, they're not really based in, natural medicine or
Mhm.
plant-based medicine.
Right.
It's we had meat and potatoes and veg,
Yeah.
and but it wasn't all the other nutrients that other people have, and the spices and the herbs and everything else.
Hmm.
And so when we talk to other cultures and ask them how they manage things and are willing to open up and try something, we may
Yeah.
just find that solution. And that whole picket fence thing of social media can really be the answer for you.
Yeah. I mean, we're having a picket fence conversation here. So, right?
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, in the CB oil, CBD oil. I'm probably getting that wrong. In dyslexia, I always put it in the wrong thing, but it is basically, the hemp oil, the marijuana oil, whatever you
Hmm.
want to call it.
Hmm.
I take them in capsules, and for restless legs, because it's not to do with menopause, I still have restless legs to do with my other condition I have. Um, and it's the only thing to help the restless legs. I mean, your legs, you're lying there and your legs are jumping, you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
They're doing things like they want to go and do a marathon.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
would love to say to them, go, just leave me alone. Unfortunately, they're attached. And so I'm not going to get up and go do a marathon with them. But CBD oil is just wonderful. It's really fantastic. And the benefits of it on so many other things. Hemp
Hmm.
seeds. You can buy hemp seeds raw and put them in the fridge and sprinkle them over your food.
Yeah.
So good for you. Flaxseed, and
Yeah.
consonants where we talked about that, omega-3 oils and your bees
Hmm.
essential to have. And especially when we get to those 50s, the magnesium, really
Hmm.
important for women. But as I said, take it
Yeah.
with vitamin D at the same time,
Hmm.
specifically at night. It does help you sleep, but they work so beautifully
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And then glucosamine in the day, we've got to look at all of these things there and find that balance that our body needs to intake. Turmeric is wonderful, whether you take it as a
Hmm.
pill or have it as a food, because it's an anti-inflammatory. And we're
Yeah.
more inclined to inflammation as we get older,
Hmm.
right? So there's so many things that we can start taking. Any things you've got to suggest there that we can start applying to our lives?
Well, I think you've covered a lot. In fact, you've given me some some tidbits there. But yeah, just even just Googling,
Yeah.
different herbs or whatever, finding out what they're good for. And then you do need to have some caution as to like how much of an herb you're taking.
Yes.
Can your body absorb this or not? You
Yes.
know, is it water soluble? If it is, no problem. You're just going to pee it out.
Hmm.
And, I've had a doctor once tell me Americans have the most expensive urine in the world
Yes.
because, you know, but so make sure that it's safe, but find something that is, going to give your body what it needs. Like for me, sleep was a major, major problem for me. So finding something that helped me was absolutely life changing. And that took years of trying a whole bunch of other
Yeah.
things that didn't work.
So
So
what do you do now to get a good night's sleep?
I am taking something called Zleem, and I've got one right here. And these are neat because they're snaps, and you just snap it, put it in your mouth, hold it. It's nootropics, goes right to the brain, which is within, I don't know, 20 minutes. I'm finding myself getting more relaxed. But the interesting thing was when we were talking about my cortisol levels, I I asked our doctor, what is it about this product that has me sleeping? And he said it was mostly the ashwagandha, but I had taken ashwagandha in other products and it didn't do me any good. Somehow the formulation, maybe it's because it's a nootropic and it's taken
Mm,
sublingually. And so my cheeks absorb it, the tongue absorbs
yes.
it.
Gets into the
Um,
bloodstream quicker.
it's not going through the gut because if you don't
Yes.
have a healthy gut and you're
Yeah.
taking supplements, you might not be getting nearly what you can out of it. So that's something to consider too, your gut health and
Yeah.
going through this whole menopausal things like what is your gut health like? Which back to going to find a good doctor on to help tell you, what you to determine what your gut health is like, what you could do, what do you need. Um, yeah,
And this is why they actually say when you're going through menopause, and I recommend it anytime, is to drop red meat.
yeah.
The more vegetables you can have. I'm an 80% plant-based diet with a
Mm-hmm.
20% eggs and things like the cheese now and again. But I have found, and I put flaxseed on my porridge every morning, because that's the gut health you need.
Yeah,
Keep it consistent and regular. And and having those vegetables, which in themselves have so many nutrients, and
yeah,
please don't boil them to death.
yeah.
Steam them or lightly cook them or
Steam.
stir fry them.
Yeah,
I love to actually take root vegetables, put them in the oven, a little olive oil and turmeric with black pepper,
yeah.
always black pepper with turmeric so that it can release the benefits of the turmeric.
Ah,
All right, so always black
okay.
pepper with it, and having those roasted vegetables, and it's such good for inflammation and so many memory, absolutely
Yeah,
brilliant for
yeah.
the memory.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that we can do. We get side effects from the menopause that cause other things, like inflammation,
Yeah.
right? And so if you can keep your inflammatories down, that is going to calm, everything else
Mhm.
that's going on. But I say drop the meat because of what they add to meat. They
Oh,
add,
yeah.
the estrogen, they add this, they add that, and it just increases that whole estrogen level in your body, which you don't want in your body at
Mm-mm.
that time. So it's to try and go through virtually a no meat if you can, or fish now and again, fatty fishes especially like mackerel and fishes that have high fat in them are really really good for you as well.
Yeah,
But plant-based diet, I know people think
yeah.
that plant-based diet is a lettuce leaf and a tomato, but we've come a long way, folks,
Yes, we
and there
have.
are some delicious food out there from
Uh,
plant-based.
and it's not just that red meat hurts your body, it hurts your pocketbook. I
Oh
mean,
God, yeah,
it
yeah.
is so I quit eating red meat years ago, more for the I didn't want to spend that much money on a piece of meat.
You're right.
Um, so now it's more for health reasons, but beans and rice, beans and lentils, beans and
Yes,
quinoa,
yes.
that's an
Kidney beans,
amazing
baked beans,
oh yeah,
chickpeas,
yep.
and there's so many things you can do with them. So many
Absolutely.
things.
Flavor them different
Yeah.
ways. Today for lunch, I had a Mexican thing with quinoa and red peppers and
Mm.
onion, and it was absolutely delicious. Throw some out fresh avocado and cilantro on top. It was delicious, and no meat.
I
you
have
know.
a show on last week, which I highly recommend, and it's about the Matrix. MEAT
Mm.
Ricks, and are you going to take the red pill or the green, blue pill? But this guy has dedicated the last 14 years of his life in gathering research on meat, on the dairy, on also the environment of manufacturing. beef and meat because we manufacture animal stocks now, folks. They're not bred nicely in the
Yeah,
fields or killed nicely. I'm sorry. Every time they're killed in a terrifying way, you're eating their terror because it froze up the whole
yeah,
hormones up and everything.
yeah.
So, but he's
Mm.
written this book where it is all absolutely scientific fact and facts that are going on in the world, which I highly, recommend people do read. And if you come back to selfdiscoverymedia.com and just put in Matrix, the show will come up because it really was extremely enlightening. And I think we have to get more conscious across the board on what we put in our body.
Mm.
We've also got to look at the effect of how much preservatives are in food.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
this is so bad for you as well, and
Yeah.
when you are going through menopause at any time in your health, you want to optimize it with the most natural and fresh foods or
Mhm.
dry foods that you can go through.
Yeah.
Um, we have to look at that those preservatives because when you are going through menopause, everything about your body is on screaming alert, and so you
Mhm.
can't give it something else that it has to worry about.
Yeah. And in the United States, there's so many things that we can put in our food that even in Canada, you're not going to find
No,
preservatives.
no.
So a general rule of thumb that I was taught several years ago was that you look at the back of the package, if it has more than 5 ingredients, don't eat it.
Hmm.
Because the first five might be okay, but after that, you're going to have a long list of preservatives and food colorings
Yes.
and things that you don't need. And that doesn't just apply to women going through menopause. I mean, how many children are out there that have, that are suffering from ADDH or whatever, is
Hmm.
going on
Hmm.
because of all the junk that they're eating. And kids are notorious for wanting those fast foods and they get it. And then we wonder why they're not functioning right. Well, it's no different for us at the other end of life, that we're eating
Exactly.
eating stuff and wondering like, what is going on with my body? Well, what are you putting in it? You know,
Yeah.
um, this stuff is downright scary. Some of the
Yes.
things that they're allowing to be put in food. So,
You
yeah.
know, I have these couple of articles here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. One is on ginger, the miracle root. The other one is on lemon. And both of them are just
Mm.
incredible with what they do to our body and how it can help our digestive system, our heart disease, cholesterol levels, inflammation, lemon and how it's a detoxification.
Yeah.
And it's all of these things that are just like, just incorporated in your food. This is the thing, it's start putting it into your diet, and then you'll start seeing things in a different way. Um, there was another lovely lady I had on many years ago, and she calls it for 4 seasons by week. And what she does is she had done the week after your period. You are the most creative and most adventurous during that time, and then the
Hmm.
next week it's spring, summer, and then fall and winter. And like when you're in the winter, that's when the menstrual cycle is there. That is not the time to go and ask her to go and do something because she's in cocoon mode. And she actually created this poster that you could put up on the fridge and put the magnet on to which week you're on. So then people would know actually how to treat you, right?
I
So
love that. I love
it's
that. Yeah.
absolutely wonderful, and for people who want to read that, which I highly recommend you do too. Is her name is Susan Mathis McQueen, and it's right here. You just put in seasons in 4 weeks, but it just made so much sense to me.
Mhm.
And that's the thing is that how we manage our period, we can actually pay attention to the signs that you're going through week by week with your menopause, and then
Mhm.
look to your lifestyle. Is it worse on this week? Or is it better when
Yeah.
you do that? And this is when, your health is your choice. Take some accountability to what's going on in your body and be
Mhm.
kind to yourself.
Yeah. Maybe a little journaling,
Yes.
just kind of keep a record. Okay, this is what I maybe, this is what I ate. This is how I'm feeling,
Mm,
especially when it comes to comfort foods.
mm.
We gravitate towards those and then those are not the best thing. Mine is mac and cheese. I mean, and or pancakes. If I'm having a really bad day and my husband would come home and see me cooking up eggs and pancakes, he'd look at me and say, bad day, honey.
Yes.
So, so I have to be aware that, okay, I'm going to eat this stuff. It might make me feel better for 20 minutes. And then after that, I'm gonna be like this, and I'm not gonna sleep very well.
Mm,
And so just, and if you're journaling that and you can see that, it's like, okay, maybe I need to not have mac and cheese, find something else, you know. And I think as we change that around in our diet and our
yeah.
lifestyle, we can have healthy foods become a comfort food. You know, we don't have to. I think a lot of our comfort foods come from our growing up, like what mom gave us,
Yes,
what, you
yes.
know, whatever. And they probably are not the healthiest things.
No.
So it's like rewiring your mind
Yeah,
and your gut. But healthy things can become comfort foods for us, but we have to work through that process.
right. You can
Yeah.
have chickpea pancakes, by the way.
Yes,
My
I'm
daughter
gonna
makes those. They're delicious
really.
with,
Okay.
beautiful maple syrup, right? Straight from the
Mm-hmm.
tree, no preservatives. Um,
Yeah.
and she uses this, I'm not quite sure what it is, but she makes tofu, scrambles it with this particular spice in it, and it tastes like
Mm.
scrambled eggs,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, this is
Yeah.
the thing. It's like there's so much there. I go down every 2 weeks because she lives about an hour and 40 minutes away from me, and I go down to look after my grandson every 2 weeks for a couple of days. And I'm going to be making Cornish pasties, and we're going to be doing vegan pastry, which is just done with a different vegan butter, which tastes absolutely marvelous. You wouldn't know it's not butter, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not margarine, it's just something else altogether. And I'm doing it with I don't know if you have it there in the UK, but Eve's ground beef, which tastes just like ground beef, and then just make it up into the old Cornish pasties so that she's got some in the freezer when she comes
Huh.
home from work. But this I've cooked for people who didn't realize they were eating vegan food. And it's even
Yeah.
your cream sauces, your pancakes, everything. And it's like, this is made from what? We had
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving just over a week ago, and I posted the picture and say, this is what a vegan Thanksgiving looks like, and it is delicious. And so many people, really?
Awesome.
Because everybody thinks it's just, again, the lettuce leaf and tomato, and it's like there's so
Yeah.
much good food in there. And the thing is, like the chickpeas, they're so healthy for you.
Yeah.
So you can have your pancakes made out of the
Mm.
chickpea, right? And you're not going to miss
Mm-hmm.
that. It's still going to be your comfort, but it's the
Yeah.
substitution. What comfort food do I like? And how can I
Mm.
substitute that with something that's a different ingredient? So I'm not losing what's my comfort food, but I'm just eating
Yeah.
it in a healthier way.
That's true. Yeah. So I can do a healthy macaroni and
Yes.
vegan cheese, and I
Yes,
can have my mac and cheese.
exactly.
Yeah.
Along with either oat milk, soy milk, I
Yeah.
use cashew milk, I had a craving for custard yesterday, so it was cashew milk custard, and
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, the more you walk away from things, if you did accidentally have it, then you suddenly realize, why does my gut hurt? And you realize
Yeah. Yeah.
it was an intolerance that you never knew. And now
Mm-hmm.
that you are not taking it, and if you accidentally do take it, you go, oh, now I know. That was what was
Yeah.
causing that. So,
Yeah.
really good idea to keep a journal, to keep what you ate, um, what exercise you did, even the tolerance of people around you. Because as we talked about irritability,
Yeah.
I think just growing older as a woman, we get to be a little more, we're tolerant over people and the suffering they're going through, and we're more empathetic and more supportive, but we're not tolerant of fools very easily as we get older.
Yes.
And when you're going
No,
through
we're not.
when you're going through menopause, that increases.
You know, as you're saying that, I was thinking of pediatricians sometimes with children. They'll have different smiley faces with, you
Yes,
know, a frown or
yes,
whatever. And that would be a good thing to put on our journey, on our journal, like
yeah,
how you feel emotionally today.
yeah,
Are you smiling? Are you frowning? Are you angry? Are you sad? Because that all, maybe at some point you'll look and see your frowning ones and realize, oh, this is what I ate on these days, or this is what happened on these days,
yeah,
and realize that there's a connection between your emotional well-being and what you ate for that day.
And who is causing that
And
upside down
who?
frown?
Yes, that's right.
And maybe it
Yeah.
might be a good idea not to see them right now.
Uh-huh. It's true.
Pay attention, I mean, because we're brought up to be so polite and to tolerate people that really do get under our skin. And
Mhm.
we can wish everybody well, but we don't have to be around them if they're a
Yeah.
detriment to ourselves. It's even if it's family members, it's okay to say, I'm busy or not at this time, and just take your own journey. And
Yeah.
they will get on doing their life, and when they realize they can't get under your skin anymore, they'll go
Mhm.
find somebody else for a second.
Yeah.
But it's okay to say, look, I'm dealing with a lot right now. I just can't take anything else on.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had to do that a few times myself, especially this past year. It's been okay. I just can't take that phone call. I can't answer that text. I'll just, you know, I'll get to it when I feel I can, but we need to do that for ourselves. It doesn't do the other person any good if you're grouchy,
Yeah,
what, when you're talking to them, that's not going to help the situation either.
no.
So, yeah.
Now, how would you suggest we sit the husband, we sit the kids down, maybe separately, and say, look, I don't know what I'm about to go through, but it started. This is
Mhm.
what I need from you.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I wish I would have known to do that, 15 years ago. Because my poor children probably had no idea. And I had a really, other than the sleeping, I did have a pretty much breathe through. I mean, the restless leg syndrome got me kicked out of our bed because I didn't want to keep my husband. You lie there and you're like, okay, if I kick again, I'm going to wake him up. I'm going to wake him up. I wound up sleeping on the couch for 7 years because,
Wow. No, man.
yeah. Now,
No.
fortunately, I'm 4'8". I'm 100 and something pounds. So sleeping on a couch, my husband felt so bad for me. It's like, I'm really not that uncomfortable, far less uncomfortable than I would be if I had it on my mind all night long that I'm going to keep you up.
Right.
But so back to our question.
How do you
How
talk to
do,
the kids as well?
yeah,
And you
yeah,
explain it to them because this is something natural, but it also
it
gives
is.
them permission. If it's a girl, it gives them permission to be able
Mm-hmm.
to talk about things. If it's a guy, it gives him permission to understand what a girl is going through because one day he may marry or have
Yep.
a girlfriend that's going through a bad menstrual cycle or mother's going through menopause, and I think this whole thing about no, let's not talk to the guys about it. It's too
Yeah.
embarrassing for them.
No.
Everybody gets to talk about it.
Yeah, because you're all going through it together in
Yes.
essence, right? Your family, whoever you affect. I mean, um, even in the workplace,
Mm,
it would be a very good idea to have some education there, so that employers understand that, hey, this, whether it's a period, whether they have female employees that are in that winter that you
yes.
talked about, you know, or going through menopause, to be supportive and to provide some support for them. Um,
And no
I
snide
think
remarks. Oh, it
no
must be
snide
that
remarks.
time of month. Oh God,
Oh
she's
yeah,
going through the change. We
or
don't need
the
those snide remarks, thank you very
no,
much, from anybody.
or the most crudest I've heard is, "Oh, she must be on the rag." It's like,
Mm,
really?
yeah,
That
yeah, yeah.
that
You
is
know,
that is
well, that
yeah,
explains what's going on with me, but what explains going on with you?
yeah, really, really.
Yeah.
It
um,
is the truth.
I agree with you in the workforce that needs to be an education. It not only benefits people in the workforce, but it also empowers them when they go home and they have more empathy for what's going on the home front, right? They have more
Absolutely.
understanding and they have more
Mhm.
compassion. A lot of the time, it's not that people don't care, they just don't know what to say or what to do.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And then if as a woman you've had that support in your workplace, you're taking that home with you.
Yeah.
Rather than taking, anger home
Yeah.
with you, or you're upset because your boss just didn't understand, or whatever, you don't have to drag that into your home situation, because you've had a little bit of empathy at the workplace, that you come home a much happier person to your family.
If a woman has a sickness, God forbid, cancer or anything else, everybody's out there. How can I help?
Yeah.
Right? But when it comes to something like menopause, yes, because it goes, well, cancer can go on for a long time as well, but it's just people don't know what to say, or how to support it. And I think even with cancer, gone are the days where, well, I don't know what to say. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not even going to call them. We
Yeah.
don't want that crap. Thank you very much. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, you're uncomfortable. Guess what? So am I.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Come with your uncomfortability and even say, look, I have no idea what I can do for you. Right. But I'm here for you. You tell me what
Yeah.
you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even if you don't get that response, do something.
Yes.
Just do the simplest things, like, send a meal over, or
Yeah.
if you're not local, send some flowers, a
Yeah.
card, something that lets them know, hey, I have no idea what you're going
Yeah.
through, but I'm here to go through it with you. That,
Yeah.
you know,
And I mean it when I say I'm a phone call away or a message away
yeah,
or pick a fence away. If you just want to need to rant and rave, I won't take it
yeah,
personally, because sometimes a
yeah,
person going through something just needs to, ah. And if they've got somebody
absolutely.
they can do that to that knows that it's not them, it's just that person releasing their valve and then a good hug afterwards,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
that in itself is so healing.
It is just feeling that you have someone in your life that you can do that with,
Yeah.
that you can be vulnerable with, that you can let it all out, and they're not going to take it personally, and it's not going to affect your relationship. They're going to love you no matter what. Um, that that's worth everything, especially when you're going through a crisis. And menopause can really be a crisis for some
Yeah.
women.
Yes.
It really can be a time of, not just all the physical stuff that's going on, but all the emotional stuff
Yeah.
that's going on. That they having that support is really, really important.
Taking away embarrassment or taking away um, feeling guilty about it, taking away, I've got to hide this from everyone, taking all of
Mhm.
that away altogether is already an enormous burden off everyone's shoulders, off the woman's shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it frees up for conversations,
Yes.
because now I've I've let it out. Now you're going to understand a little bit more. I can feel free now to
Yeah.
let you know what I'm going through, what it is that I need. You know, sometimes you just need, if you're a married woman, you just need to be left alone for a little bit.
Right.
Be quiet, read your book, whatever, and have a husband that's supportive enough to say, okay, I'm taking care of whatever needs to be done here, so you can have your quiet time. And, without the, oh, it's that time of the month, or
Yeah.
whatever, I'll leave you alone. You don't need that attitude, but a very supportive, I'm very blessed to have a husband that has always been very supportive like that. I mean, we joke around about it.
Yes. And
Me
you've got
getting
to do that.
hang,
You've got to have
yeah.
humor. Yeah.
I mean, I have my times I get hangry, you know, and it's like, he knows, feed the wife. Let's just feed the wife. Oh, because I can become quite nasty. I
Right.
mean, yeah, if I'm really hungry and my blood sugar is dropping, so just get something into me and I'll be okay. And he understands that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really important, whether, it's what you're going through menopause, emotionally, physically, just to have someone that can deal with the craziness, because it's gonna be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a roller coaster ride, and to have someone there that is going to support you is really important, and it'll help you get through it like you didn't imagine that you could. If you're
Right.
standing here now And just to believe that having someone to support you can make the journey so much easier and enjoyable. I'm a firm believer that, midlife is not the end of life.
No, no.
It is, it
It's a
can
new
be
chapter. It's a new chapter in life,
it's a
right?
new chapter.
Yeah.
And, there's so many beautiful things about it because like we discussed before, the wisdom that you have, the understanding
Mm,
that you have that you didn't have before, the experience, a whole
mm,
lifetime of experience. Now you've got it. So what are you going to do with it? Find some opportunities to utilize that. And that goes into helping your mental wellness so much if you are able to volunteer somewhere,
yes.
um, expend some energy like that. I was just reading a study. In fact, I did a little blog on it about the benefits of just volunteering, how much that helps.
Yeah.
It actually has seen that it's been given more longevity to people's lives because of the good that it does emotionally and physically, and it just gets you more mentally active, gets you more
Mm,
physically active. So you're in a period of time where maybe you have that more freedom that you didn't have before. You don't have little children around. Maybe they're in college, maybe they're out and they're married, and maybe you're at the point of retirement, or if you're not, you're still working. Find something
yes.
that you can contribute to, that is your passion, that you really have a heart for, that you could put a few out, even if it's just a few hours a week into, um, and it might just be making phone calls,
Yeah.
connecting with people on a real heart to heart level. It does. I know when we have been working with the homeless, we'll come back and I feel like I have gotten so much more than what I've given.
Yes.
You know,
That's
it
a
just,
really positive energy exchange.
it does,
This true currency of life, really.
it is. You talk about oxytocin,
Yeah. Yes.
you are, giving someone a hug or
Mm,
just feeling like I contributed to somebody's life does so much good for you that that will be something I would highly recommend to women that are going through this transition, that they put themselves into that
yeah.
in
Well,
some way or form.
yeah. I mean, there's so many women I've interviewed that, through their change of life, have literally changed their lives and, walked away
Mhm.
from everything that they had before and are doing something that really is meaningful to them, where they really feel it's a meaningful purpose and that
Mhm.
they have really become contributors. We're all
Yeah,
here to contribute. Every single one of us, this is called rent here on earth. It's
yeah,
to contribute and give back to society. And you may never know the results that you had, but the sheer joy of giving and doing for others is
Mhm.
so energizing and so uplifting. It just folds back on you and magnifies and even more. It's just wonderful.
It does. It does. A little bit that you give, it's like you get back 100-fold.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how that works.
Yes.
But it's true. That's how it works.
But because that's how it's meant to work. We are energy creatures that need each other. And the more that we're there to help and support one another, the more we're
Mhm.
actually raising that frequency, that energy of possibilities that creates
Yeah,
those opportunities of healing and growth for people. So,
yeah.
it's how many times have people said that um, I was about to go and commit suicide, but somebody stopped and said hello to me and formed a conversation, and
Oh
and
yeah.
it changed. And you never know. We walk around today where you see the kids are just heads down in their phone and not communicating with one another. And you say,
It's
you
sad.
don't understand the connection of actually being there talking to someone. And whether it's through this way of having a heart to heart or a nice in-depth conversation, or whether it's physically, as of course, physical is wonderful when you put your arms around someone. But
Mhm.
you have no idea that when you put your arm around someone, of what it could mean to them. It literally could be life and death. But also
Yeah.
putting your arm around someone and giving them a loving hug, two energies meet, you feed each other,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you've been just as much hugged as the hug that you're giving.
Yeah. And that can even be through animals. Your
Oh,
pets
yes.
can give you that feeling, you know. Um,
Your grandchildren can.
that's and grandchildren,
Yes.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I had an experience similar to that. You were talking about suicide, but we serve a birthday cake when we're out on every other Saturday, and we serve a meal, and there's a cake that gets donated from a specialty bakery. And we would sing happy birthday to whoever was having their birthday. Well, one particular time it was just before Christmas, and we gave this one man piece of birthday cake, and it meant that piece of birthday cake and having us sing happy birthday to him, he was going to commit suicide.
Yeah.
He was at that, he was so distraught,
Yeah.
but it meant that little thing. So
Someone
you never
cared.
know. Yeah,
Someone cared.
what
Yes.
if you're in the grocery store and you just
Exactly.
make a nice comment to the
Yeah.
cashier? My husband is amazing at that. He puts me to shame because personally, I go grocery shopping, I want in and out, but he will chat up the cashier, ask them about their name. Oh, that's a pretty name. Do you know what it means or whatever? But they got a smile on their
Yeah.
face from the 2 minutes that they interacted with him.
They feel
And
seen, they feel heard,
if you
they
see,
feel
yeah,
appreciated. Isn't that what we all want to
exactly.
feel? Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then him in turn gets that good
Yes.
vibration of knowing that I made this person smile, you
Exactly.
know?
It's paying it forward.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and that cashier, who knows what that cashier is going to do with the next
Yeah.
because it's like a ripples. It's
Yes.
that ripple effect of I'm having a good effect on you. Who are you going to have a good effect on? Who are they going to have an effect on? And
Being
unfortunately,
nice and being kind to one another, being attentive enough to listen or care or just see someone, whether it's briefly or whether it's for a period of time, this is what it's all about. And,
yeah,
whether someone's going through menopause or going through anything in life, when we show up and we pay attention and we show, I'm here, I am present with you in this moment. This
yeah,
moment, you have my time. I see you, I hear you. It is nectar to that person.
it is.
And we
It
need to
is.
do more of it because we would be so much more of a healing society if we got back to that village caringness, where the village is only as strong as everyone in it, right? And if we got back to that village mentality of being there to support one another, then we would actually see a far better world. But
Oh,
what we're
yeah.
seeing is division. And if people can't even talk about the natural thing, like when a woman is pregnant and she's got morning sickness, people expect that. Oh, sorry, are you feeling okay? I hope you didn't throw up. You're feeling nauseous? Here's a cracker. But if she's going
Hmm.
through menopause, I don't want to know about that. Or she's going through a
Yeah.
menstrual cycle, I don't want to know about that. No, the person doesn't need to lay out every single thing. There are people that
Hmm.
overshare, but at the same time, go, I'm sorry, folks, I'm just going to have to strip for a moment. Oh, can you do it
Hmm.
here? Make fun of it, make light of it. It is like, let's support that person, whether it's through humor or whether it's through, I understand, or can I do anything? Or can I take something over for you while you just go and cool down? Or
Yeah.
go and do this and that. Let's get back to the village mentality where we're there to support one another.
Absolutely. That would make a world of difference. You wouldn't have children, like you said, just looking so lost, you
Yes,
know. Um, yeah, it's just sad the world that we're creating because we're not doing that,
right.
having that connections with each other. Yeah.
Now you don't have a site, but you have a couple of Facebooks and an Instagram. Your Instagram is the
Hmm.
Sleep Girl, Susan the Sleep Girl, and then you've got the Zombie X group, which is also to do with sleep, and you also have your Facebook, Susan dot
Hmm.
Kewin, Q. I always want to say Q because you have to pronounce it that way. K.
Kewin. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hmm.
5. Um, and each one of these groups is kind of supporting in a different way. For you, you have found the a good night's sleep, which is true. A good night's sleep is so rejuvenated when people get into the deep retina sleep. It is so healing. It can take care of a lot. The body is amazing at healing itself if we give it the right
Yeah.
nutrition, exercise, sleep, and lack of stress. Um,
Mm.
those things can help a lot. So, describe what each Facebook or Instagram does.
Well, my Instagram, you see the link on, and on my Facebook too, where you can see all the products and just get an idea of what it's all about. But Zombiacs is a page that I created for women. And oddly enough, I have a couple of men on there too that are struggling with sleep issues.
Hmm.
And it's just a page to get some support, some information, not just about the product, Zleem, which is amazing, but just all around, you know, lifestyle, habits that, that you're going to, sleep hygiene,
Hmm.
what is sleep hygiene? Um, because you can purchase this and eat your pizza at 8 o'clock at night and go to bed with your cell phone in your bed or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's not going to help.
No,
you
no.
know, it is a life cycle, just
Mm.
your whole from the time you get up in the morning. How you get up in the morning is how you're going to sleep at night.
Yeah.
How you sleep at night is going to be how you spend the rest of the next day. So, and to understand the integratedness of that, that's what Zombiacs is about. There's also more information on my Facebook page, and my Instagram page is pretty much, talking about the need for sleep. Um, I've lately really been focusing on EMF protection, which is what this little beauty is
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
protect us from, because that definitely has effects on our sleep, on our well being. I just was studying, somebody wanted to know that is in the ADDH community and wanting to know, does EMFs affect that? So sure enough, she wanted some documentation behind it. There's a whole slew of research.
What
So
does EMF stand for?
electromagnetic frequencies
Mm.
that are coming from everything, your
Absolutely
computer,
everything.
your
Yes.
modem, your phone,
Mm.
5Gs. And I could not believe that I heard that it's a quadrillion more in the past 10 years
Yeah.
than it was like 10 years ago.
And
And that's only
it's
going
only
to
going to be on
go
the
up.
increase. Yeah,
It's only
exactly.
going to be on the increase. And the
Yeah.
effects are, they're even putting it in the carcinogenic realm
Yes.
that it can cause cancer. So it's something to be really serious about. And in the realm of sleep and how we're going through issues like menopause, that's a factor to consider. I mean, I know I'm doing much better, just
Mm.
feeling more grounded and not getting the Zoom fatigue that I was. So
Right.
that grounding is really amazing. You have the feeling like you're walking on the beach, the sand and the beach. You're just much more calm, able to focus. And, when you're going through the whole menopausal,
Yes.
having a sense of being grounded is really good.
Exactly.
really,
Yeah. So
really
you don't feel
good.
you're flapping in the wind. I mean, our serotonin goes down during our menopause. And the
Yeah.
serotonin really is what's going to help you sleep. Is what's going to help the body rebuild. Excuse me. And it's also really essential to the whole equilibrium of your body. And so if you're
Mhm.
missing that serotonin, then you're not going to have the good sleep. Your body's not going to be able to rejuvenate. It's not going to be able to go through this change in an
Yeah.
even keel. So it's really
Mhm.
essential that we look at what helps us sleep, what keeps our equilibrium, what keeps our mind busy so we're not focusing on just the menopause. The
Yeah.
giving back, the paying it
Mhm.
forward, all of that is such, again, an energizer, so
Yes.
fulfilling on every cellular level. And as
Mhm.
you said, these apparatuses that we have around, the TV, the this and that, it's setting off things. It's very hard to
Yeah.
actually avoid. So if there's things that we can do that can absorb the magnetics, that
Yeah.
it's not penetrating our body, uh,
Mhm.
because it is affecting us, just like the foods we've been eating in the last 30, 40 years with all the
Oh
preservatives
yeah.
and the chemicals has changed the chemistry in our bodies, changed our minds, what they are feeding animals that we then eat. I think a great deal of the anger and a great deal
Oh
of
yeah.
the mental health problems and clearly physical health problems is coming from all those additives that go into everything. And our body is meant to have pure, natural, simple, and not all this other bombardment. So the more we're
Yeah,
aware, the more we can care about our own health.
I totally agree. You know, you hear these cases of road rage
Yeah.
or just the violence and what
Kids
is going
taking guns and
on.
just going to obliterate. I mean, they talked about
Why?
in
Yeah.
America, I think they've had something like, was it 35 or 40 mass shootings this year? And
Oh,
that's the killing of five or more.
and you know, then as a parent, as a grandparent, thinking that are my children going to come home
Yeah,
alive at the end of the
yeah.
day? What does that do to you? You know, it
My
is
daughter and I were
just
at a playground the other day with my grandson who's 18 months old and she's pregnant. And they're playing, there's a schoolyard just over there, and we started hearing people screaming at each other. And she said, should we go? Because just a couple of weeks ago, a young couple were at a playground, just walking by, and two teenagers came and stabbed the guy to death. And we're seeing teenagers being the main killers here, and
Mhm.
it's like we've got to look at the environment they're growing up in. We've got to look at the foods. We've got to look at, I've got a whole thing about investing in our children, the Forgotten Children series. And if we don't take care of our children, that means taking care of you as the parent so you can take care of the children, right?
Absolutely.
We're
Yeah.
going to keep having this more and more violent society out there. So, although we're talking about menopause, we're talking about our whole health, our whole well-beingness, and that
Yeah.
we've really got to, our health is our choice, our well-being is our choice, and it's
Mhm.
also our responsibility.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, you're handing it down to the next generation. And yeah, that's quite a responsibility, especially when we see what is going on in our society.
Yeah,
You and I, we don't want that for our
no,
grandchildren. You know, what can we do that fortunately my daughter is very health conscious, very aware of what she's feeding her children. So I'm very blessed with that because they're growing up very happy, very healthy. Um, but a lot of the majority of children aren't.
yeah, I know.
And they're in very stressful situations at home. And this COVID thing has been
Yeah.
horrendous. It's just been really, really horrendous on the children as well as the adults. And that's something we need to recover from emotionally too.
Exactly.
You
And
know?
we're about to, everywhere in the world is about to go through a recession, which is going to put more strain on it. Of course, in Europe, you've got the
Mhm.
whole Putin thing. And I know that, the cost of fuel is going up. So heating is tripled. And, my brother and sister have just
Mhm.
both had major operations and they won't put the heat on, because
Oh,
it's been tripled in price. They're seniors, right? And I sent them
mhm.
some snugglies, poncho snugglies to keep them warm,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Oh,
it's like, everybody's going through this, folks. So instead of taking out the pitchforks and blame, 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 there's three
yeah,
fingers pointing at you. Well, how are you going to be a part of the solution? And that means
exactly.
being there for your neighbors, being there for your relatives, being there for your children, being there for each other.
Yes. And got to be there for yourself
Yeah.
first. You know,
Yes.
it's like in the airplane, you got to put your
Hmm.
oxygen mask on
Yeah.
first before you help the person next to you. So it is real. And as women, we tend to not do that.
No,
So we
no,
take
no. It's,
care of everybody
save
around
everyone.
us.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help if we're
It,
down.
it,
It
it
doesn't.
doesn't.
It puts a lot of
It
strain on
doesn't.
everyone else. So
So it's not selfish.
no, it's absolutely self-love. And the more
It
we love
is.
ourselves in a healthy, holistic way, the more abundant we can be, the more energy we can share, and the more love gets out there. So
Yeah,
yes, please owe it to yourself, right? So it means if you're going through
absolutely.
menopause, know everything there is to know. Sit down with your family and say, I don't know how I'm going, what I'm going to be like going through this. If I snap, don't take it personally. If I suddenly strip, don't get embarrassed. Uh, yes, we can laugh at it, but be careful how much fun you take out on me.
Mhm.
Where's the line? And let people know around you, look, I've hit the menopause train. And anybody got any tips? And lighten it
Yeah,
up. Don't
yeah.
make it a stigma, lighten it up, share, care, and let's get everybody through this.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy the ride as
Enjoy
much
the
as
ride.
you can.
Exactly. So again, your Facebook and your Instagram links are?
My Facebook is Susan Kewin. Instagram is the Sleep Girl. And then there's Zombiacs on Facebook.
Right. And
And what
Zombiac's a
I,
private group, right?
yes, yes. So you can just go to Zombiacs and hit the invitation button. I ask two questions, just, one of them is how long have you been suffering from sleep issues? Because that is something that I would like to discuss. Um, I am offering a free 30-minute sleep consultation to anyone that's on this podcast that would like that, to just go through some of the things that we
Mm,
discussed. You know, what are you doing? What is your day like? How can we alter that? Talk about your mental wellness, your mental well-being, and how we can, your diet, your exercise, the whole shebang, and see if we can't help you get your sleep.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
when the sleep is good, everything else is manageable.
And when it's not, let me tell you,
I know.
I,
I suffer from
I,
that myself. So yes, I
I,
know.
I named the group Zombie Act. I mean, as funny as it sounds,
Yeah.
but that's what my life was like for
Yeah.
15 years,
Yeah.
just barely functioning. Had no, didn't want a social life, didn't want to, you know, borderline depression, because you're just barely making it through the
Waking up
day,
tired. It's not a fun
Oh,
feeling. Yeah.
oh, yeah, yeah. And going to sleep at 8 o'clock at night and wondering, I'm not going to sleep anyway. So what am I doing in bed? And
Right.
just thinking about that first cup of coffee in the morning is,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the way my life was.
Yeah.
So not fun.
No,
So when I
definitely not.
finally found something that allowed me to sleep, it was like, yes. And it really became when I started digging into some of the research and realized how prevalent this is among
Mm,
women. 70% of women going through midlife are not sleeping. And I'm really coming to the conclusion that it's just become like it was for me. That's just life. You
yes.
know, you that's the status quo. This is it. This is if you would have asked me a year ago to describe myself, I would have said I'm a low energy person.
Mm,
That's how I felt. Um, just thinking, well, that's just who Susan is. She's a low energy person. Um, and not even connecting it with, okay, what would happen if you got the sleep that you need?
yeah.
Um, so it was, to me, it was not, it was life changing to
Yeah.
be able to
Gave
find
you life
something.
back.
It did, absolutely, in every way. And that is something that I want to share with other women, because having gone through what I've gone through, coming through the other end, it's like there's hope.
Yeah.
I don't want any woman thinking that, like I did, this is just a status quo. This is where I am. I have to deal with it, because you don't.
No, there's always a
Yeah.
solution, folks. To
Yeah.
every problem, there's always a solution. And that's the reason why we do
Mm-hmm.
these shows. And that's the reason why you've got your groups, is so that we can share and talk about it and find that solution. And sleep is really the number one. If, every
Yeah.
single illness, if there's no sleep, the healing takes longer. So
Oh,
sleep
yeah.
is really important. Thank
And
you
they're
so much.
saying,
Yeah.
oh,
No, go ahead.
they're just mental wellness, mental illness has been, most cases of mental illness can be traced back to a lack of sleep.
Yeah.
This is coming from psychiatrists. So
No, I'm one of those
it's
people
just,
that live that. Yep,
yeah,
absolutely. I will testify to
yeah,
that. Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it doesn't help anything. A good night's sleep, my God, your feet can take on the world. A bad night's sleep and continue bad night's sleep, it's just like
Yeah.
you feel that there's a chain around you dragging you along all the
Yeah.
time.
And you
So yeah.
lose cognitive
Yes.
ability. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a no-win. But
Mm-hmm.
having a good night's sleep and knowing how to have a good night's sleep and how to share menopause and how to get through it, they can reach out to you on your Facebook, on the Zombie X, the private group, Susan Kewin, KEWIN.5 on Facebook, and also Susan the Sleep Girl on Instagram. And just,
Mm-hmm.
go and start the conversation, folks, because you may even know a friend going through it and you're not yet.
Absolutely.
And the more that you know how to help them go through it over when it's your turn, it is, if you're a woman, very few of us escape it. if you have the hysterectomy, maybe, but you don't go over and have a hysterectomy to avoid menopause.
Yeah,
That has its own
yeah.
side effects. So,
Hmm.
you're going to go through this, you're going to get through this and do it with support and with the right knowledge and a good night's sleep. So thank you so much, Susan,
Yes.
for sharing with us today.
You are so welcome. It was a pleasure. Mhm.
And folks, remember, good night's sleep. She's got some tips. She's got some tools. She knows what
Yeah.
it's like. Reach out to her, please, because without a
Yes,
good night's sleep, and that, not whether you're going through menopause or not, whether you're a woman or a man, anybody, we all need a good night's sleep. That's how we function
absolutely.
better. So
Absolutely.
until next time, folks, I wish you a good night's sleep. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
We hope that you enjoyed the show. Find all of our shows on selfdiscoverymedia.com under podcasts or selfdiscoverymedia/shows. And for all our current shows, go to What's New. We are supported by you, the audience. You'll see a nice big shiny blue button for one-time donations or follow us on Patreon and you will be able to support us there. We enjoy bringing you such wisdom. And the next show will be up in just a moment.